Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. I want to zoom in and focus in on a viewer question, an inquiry that we received in, and really kind of go into a little bit more in depth on the history of a covert narcissist in a relationship. And I also want to give a quick shout out to those of you who have recently made a donation to the channel. It really is inspiring to me, and it really lets me know that the resources and tools and knowledge and insights that I'm providing you are of value. So thank you so much for your recent donations. And we're going to keep it going here. And I want to zoom in and focus in on the history of the covert narcissist in the relationship. Really, and it's really speaking to their inactivity. It's speaking to their subtle form of abandonment, and it's speaking to the subtle form of neglect. And we talk about the covert narcissist and their very quiet, docile, sort of underhanded or undergirding personality construct or a dynamic that they present in the relationship. And it's really a lack of involvement, I think, that we're talking about when we talk about a covert narcissist. A lack of involvement, a lack of participation, a shyness, an introversion, not just an introversion, but a retreat into sort of a very selfish side, or really what is detrimentally and hurtful and exploitative of others, in that they are demanding of others in very certain ways, and sort of a double standard, demanding of others yet not providing in certain ways that are required. And it really speaks to the lack of involvement in very necessary ways. And for example, she was detailing in her email is that looking back, of all the different pictures and things that they had going on in their life, that she was very absent. Even though she had given so much to this gentleman, and it can go both ways. Both sexes, male or female, can be covert narcissist. But really, and looking back and, his belongings, his quote-unquote life documented, that, she had done an inordinate amount of the giving. So she was there for him, there to be a support, a sounding board, an ear, and, a lot of the giving in terms of the relationship, affection, leadership in that respect, if you know what I mean. Very proactive there. She was doing a lot of the giving of affection, and he was really kind of on the very much the receiving end to a very disproportionate manner, basically, like the 80-20 rule. Where, she was doing 80% of the giving, if not more. And I think what really hurt her the most is that, in looking back, there was very few pictures of her and really with him. It was all about him. So all the pictures centered around him, his activities, his posse of people who he surrounded himself with on a specific basis, specifically people who, were his drinking buddies, his musician buddies, things of this nature at his workplace, but nothing really kind of was there about her. And she said everything kind of came together for me when I realized that. And that oftentimes is very, very true. It's really a lack of involvement and a lack of appreciation, lack of recognition, lack of validation that we see in this covert narcissist. There's really, I don't want to say in lack of gratitude, but a lack of reciprocity or giving back and validating within relationships that the covert narcissist is very short on. And for those people, of course, who are involved with them, they're going to need, or, to keep going, to keep the relationship fueled, they're going to need that reciprocity. They're going to need that validation. They're going to know where they need to stand. Otherwise, it becomes a very boundaryless relationship. Very much, where you feel drained, empty. Like I don't have anything here, and that I have to carry the weight, the burden of the relationship, and that this person, even though the more that I give, the less they appreciate me. The more that I do, the further down the slope I fall. And eventually it becomes like an emotional avalanche where basically you're feeling like I'm way down here, I can't give anymore. And then this person is still like, well, it's still not good enough. So again, you have the reinforcement then of this person not feeling good enough, not feeling like they have done adequately to serve the needs of this individual, because it's a, I think, what Sam Vatkin describes as an insatiable need to be the one in power and in control. So insatiable meaning never really satisfied. And like an addict, like an alcoholic, once they start drinking, one drink is too much, 1,000 is never enough. It's kind of like an addiction, and addiction just sends, the way the addiction works in the mind, it keeps, the reward system is never satiated. It just keeps firing and firing and firing. So the person doesn't know when to stop. And, they don't have the feedback mechanisms. They have basically dissembled those. So, in the way that, a lot of it has to do with the physiology of the individual being maybe prone to that, but also, how their personality constructs then, create an identity around this that they then reinforce through their societal programming, their friends that they surround themselves with, etc. And so when we look at quantum consciousness, the role of empathy is that, your brain neurology also wires and fires along certain similar routes to the person that you're observing. So for example, if you see someone, who you're observing or hearing their story, people who have empathy, the brain regions will wire and fire along certain routes that they have experienced themselves, so that they literally begin to feel what that person is feeling. They understand what they're going through. They're able to get into the emotion. They're able to get into the situation. They're able to get into the story. Their brain basically is as exhibiting empathy, so it's actually an observable phenomenon. And oftentimes in the narcissist, that same neural center is not wiring and firing at the same time. It's shut down, it's inactive, it's apathetic. They don't have any, they don't have that same neural process going on. So they're really devoid of the feeling. And for them, it poses no problem. They're not hindered by their emotional deficit. They're going to absorb a lot different supply or support out of the relationship versus empathy being an important shared experience. So oftentimes people, when they look back, they feel like this person hasn't really gotten them. They feel like they have not been present in the relationship, or they feel like this person never got a chance to appreciate me or to know me. And so if you are not appreciated, you are probably not going to stay in the relationship very long. If you are not validated, if you are not appreciated, which means, basically, a feeling of love, adoration, the feeling of not being shamed, feeling adequate, secure, belief in you, trust. I mean, that belief and trust is crucial. And if you don't have that in the relationship, you're always going to feel like there's a wedge, there's a void, there's a chasm, that then begins to grow as a rift with relationships. And that's where we then see the conflict consciousness. So again, it's the hurt that comes from lack of appreciation, lack of acknowledgement, lack of attunement to another person, and lack of alignment with them, their needs, who they are as a person, and kind of the willpower to get to know them. And so, and if that was your case, realize that is oftentimes due to a covert narcissist or a lack of empathy, a lack of appreciation. It's just they are more self-absorbed. They're more into and investing their time, energy, focus, activities, talents into what really promotes them. And, oftentimes it can be disproportionate or imbalanced in relationships. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.